What's up, Jivan here. Welcome to another video. Today I'll be talking exclusively about how to apply creative skills to Arena and how to get better in Arena by practicing in creative. I've had tons of comments asking for this video and I've talked about it a little bit in other videos, but today we're going to be going into more detail. Let's get it. So first, let's talk about how to apply creative skills to Arena, and then we'll go over the main practice techniques that I recommend in creative. So applying creative skills to Arena. The hardest part for many creative warriors when switching to Arena is confidence. The truth is, you have almost all the skills you need to compete if you're a creative warrior. The hardest part though is applying those skills in-game, but this simple trick is going to help you so much. Basically, I recommend that you envision yourself in creative when you're in Arena. This sounds useless, but I do this all the time and it helps give me more confidence when I'm fighting. So when I'm in a fight, the first thing I do is identify the type of fight that I'm in. For example, if I'm low on mats, I'll box up and let the opponent push my wall, and I picture myself in a box fight in creative. I play my angles, try to set up peek shots and trap my opponents with cones and walls, etc., stuff like that. I play extra safe though, trying not to let my opponent deal any damage because I want to leave the fight with the most possible health. The main difference between a creative box fight and an in-game one is that health is more valuable in-game, because after you win the fight you don't respond at max health and heals, so play smart. Another situation is mid-game when me and my opponent are ramp pushing each other. When I see this fight starting, I immediately picture myself in realistics or a build fight in creative. The only difference here is that third parties may try to shoot us out, so the way I handle that is I do my best build moves, try to get my opponent full boxed within the first 5 or 10 seconds of the fight, and if I'm unsuccessful, I drop down, play angles, and maybe initiate a box fight scenario after that. You don't want to get too caught up in a build fight in-game just because third parties. So give it a quick try, and if you're unsuccessful or hear yourself getting chopped or something like that, then drop. If you have crash pads, you'll be chilling on height because it just takes a tap of a spacebar to save yourself from falling, but in any other situation you need to be much more careful. I try to end these fights as fast as possible, do my best build move, end it quick, but if it doesn't work then I just drop down. It's that simple. Let's talk a little bit more about third parties because that is another big difference between in-game and creative, and I see so many of you guys asking about it in the comments. So I've said this in other videos, but when I'm in game, I try to scan the area as much as possible before starting a fight so that I know if somebody is lurking nearby. Like if I'm just walking around the map in mid-game looking for a fight, I'm trying to see anybody. If I notice somebody in the distance, maybe they're headed in my direction, I take note of that before starting a fight with someone else. But if I see that no one is nearby, I know that I have at least like 10 to 15 seconds of a fight without a risk of third parties. But anytime I have a break in a fight, I try to do a quick scan to see if anyone is approaching. Like say I'm boxed up or I'm chilling on high ground, I take a second and just do like a full 360 scan the area. This has saved me so many times because usually a third party simply rushes up towards the fight and doesn't try to like sneak up, and you can spot them before they get into the fight. So what do you do if you see a third party approaching, you might be asking? What I recommend is to try to get the third party to fight the person that you're already fighting. The way I do this is by positioning myself on the opposite side of the person I'm already fighting. That way when the third party rushes in, they push the first person they see, which is the player I'm already fighting. But let's say I have my opponent one shot and I see a third party approaching. I might try to psycho into the person's box if they're one shot before the third party arrives, but it's better to play it safe and just try to get the third party to fight the person you're already fighting if you don't think you're going to have enough time to finish that fight before they get there, if that makes sense. Now another situation, let's say you don't see the third party coming up to you guys and you get beamed. The same thing applies. Try to get on the other side of the person you're already fighting by tunneling around, or disappear into old builds of the fight and try to hide and heal and try to get them to fight each other while you're hidden. And then the last situation is you could try impulsing away, but if you're one shot, beware, it's not that hard to shoot someone out of the sky, you know what I mean? So last thing I want to say about third parties is if you're W keying in late game, make sure you constantly have builds protecting all sides of you, even your top. Players in Arena love to box up and just spray at people fighting, so the best thing you can do to help yourself is box up next to the person's builds and then push them. Make sure you're covered. The best technique when pushing someone in late game who's boxed up is to do this. Position yourself on the left edge of their box. I push the box from the left, giving myself a right-hand peek on their box. This is much safer than placing yourself, say, directly on the box, like right up against their wall, because in that situation, they can just edit and take a shot on you, like a right-hand peek. But if you're to the left, you have this cover. You can either build a wall here or reset a wall if you already have one there. Also, you can easily tunnel to the left another box if you start to get uncomfortable or start getting focused by other people. So that's all I wanted to go over about third parties. Let's talk about late game now. You're probably going to see this answer coming, but the best way to mentally prepare for late game as a creative warrior is through practicing zone wars. Whenever I'm in a stat game, I picture myself in creative and I immediately play more confident. I set the same priorities for myself in-game that I set for myself in zone wars. So basically, like, the key places to be are the edge of the moving zones, the front of the moving zones, and on height, spraying down. I try to prioritize these positions as much as I can. Also, I keep track of mats, movement, ammo count, and heals. That way, I know when I need a refresh, and I'm always prepared with, like, my guns reloaded, full health, stuff like that. And if you're on the front edge of zone or on height, that's the easiest place to get picks because you can just look back or look down if you're on high ground. So now let's have a quick talk about things I recommend practicing in creative. I definitely recommend practicing any form of fighting that you feel weakest in. For example, if you don't do well in build fights and choke your builds in game, then hop in creative every now and then and build fight some friends or players in East Open's Discord. Same thing with box fights. If you notice yourself running out of mats a lot in game or losing box fight situations, hop into box fights more often against some good players, stuff like that. Just try to get better at any of your weak points. If you lose lots of these creative fights, that means you need more work. Try to learn from your mistakes, take note of where and when you die, and what you could have done different. I used to lose like around half my fights in creative, and now just the other day, I 1v1'd around 40 or 50 people on my stream, and there were a lot of good players, and I went undefeated. It just takes practice. Try not to blame things like ping or frames, work with what you got, try to make strategies that work for the conditions you're playing in. For example, I play really well in EU and West tournaments because I just force myself to play in a different playstyle. I keep my distance away from players because I know they have lower ping.
Oh my God,
what I mean by this is that when they push my wall, I back up a box and play peeks from a box away. Stuff like this will help you play a lot better on high ping. Just keep grinding and stay positive, because complaining about stuff like that, it's not going to get you anywhere, you know? Gotta work with what you got. And if you're struggling in late game, the best thing I can recommend is that you run zone wars. I run zone wars on my Twitch stream a lot, and these have helped me in game so much. You can also find zone wars in scrim discords by going to the looking for players sections. There's usually people hosting zone wars in there. And now the most important thing to being a consistently good player is having a solid warm-up routine. I don't want to go over my warm-up in this video just because I've gone through it in so many other videos. I'll link those in the description for you. I hope this helped you out. Ask any questions in the comments. I do my best to read as many as I can, so ask away. Be sure to use my supporter creator code, JivanTV. Sorry for the self-promo, but it helps me a lot when you guys use that code. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a nice day.